Old man, watch your step. Laughter rings out. A teenager deliberately slams into James Carter, a 90-year-old Marine veteran. He stumbles, falling onto the bustling streets of Savannah, Georgia. Car horns blare. They cut through the air. James, honored through 3 wars, grips his cane. His heart pounds, not from fear, but from a surge of anger. The group of teens just laughs louder. They clap mockingly. Then they saunter into a nearby alley. They leave him amid pitying glances. 20 minutes later, as they gloat in the alley, the entrance is suddenly blocked. Imposing figures in Marine uniforms appear. The sharp cadence of marching boots echoes. If you believe respect for veterans is sacred, watch what happens next. All right, my dear audience, brace for a story that'll leave you speechless. Take a second to like the video, subscribe, but only if you truly connect with what I'm sharing here, and drop a comment below. Let me know where you're watching from, what time it is for you. It's always thrilling to see someone join us from all corners of the world. James Carter never calls himself a legend, yet those who've heard his story believe he deserves the title. In his tiny apartment, in Savannah, Georgia's historic district, time seems to stand still. Faded photos on the walls, they tell of a young man from rural Alabama. Red dirt and poverty forged his iron will. At 17, he lied about his age. He donned the Marine uniform. He stepped into the deadly fray of World War II. The years that followed, he fought through Korea's fire, then 2 tours in Vietnam. Nightmares from there still haunt his fitful sleep. Retiring as a gunnery sergeant, he carried a small wooden box. It held a purple heart, a silver star. He rarely opens it. To him, their value isn't in the metal. It's in the faces of fallen comrades, preserved in a folded American flag from his best friend's funeral. It rests solemnly on an old bookshelf. Now, at 90, James's body is no longer the robust warrior of old. His hands tremble slightly. They grip a wooden cane. Each step is slow, as if counting the years gone by. But his eyes, oh, those eyes, they burn with an unquenchable fire. They shine, sharp, as if still piercing battlefield smoke, facing danger without a blink. They're the eyes of a man who stood before death, not to beg, but to defy. James's life now is simple, almost reclusive. Each morning, he leaves his apartment. He walks Savannah's cobblestone streets. Modern life weaves through ancient buildings. His usual stops, Forsyth Park. He sits on a wooden bench. He quietly watches the world, or the Sentient Bean Cafe. He orders a strong black coffee. He sips it slowly, as if savoring the peace he fought for. His steps are no longer steady, but each one declares he's still here, still resilient. The wooden cane taps the sidewalk, its steady rhythm like a soldier's heartbeat, one that never quits. In his heart, memories of battle remain vivid, not for pride, but to remind him of freedom's cost. He recalls comrades' faces, laughter amid life or death stakes, silent tears at their burials. The metal box in his apartment, it's not his pride. It's the weight of sacrifices he witnessed. He never wears them, not out of humility, but because each medal is a painful story he doesn't wish to retell. Yet James doesn't dwell in the past. He finds small joys in daily routines. Walks to the park or cafe. They keep his soul alive. They tie him to a rapidly changing world. He seeks no attention. He craves no praise. All he wants, a bit of peace, a touch of respect for the years he gave. But deep within, he carries the Marine spirit, a flame that never fades, ready to flare if anyone dares trample the values he holds dear. Each time he leaves his apartment, James feels his body's fatigue, but he doesn't let it rule him. He straightens his back, just a little. He walks with quiet pride. Passers-by may see just an old man, but look into his eyes. They'd glimpse a story longer than a lifetime. That story isn't told in words. It's told in how he lives, simply, steadfastly, never yielding. In Savannah, James Carter is part of the city, like its cobblestone streets or ancient buildings. He embodies an era, values that don't fade, a heart that beats strong despite time's deep scars. At the Sentient Bean, the young barista often smiles, calls him Mr. Carter with a hint of awe. He responds with a slight nod, never speaks of his feats. But in his eyes, they sense something vast, as if he carries a century in that gaze. James sits there, quietly. His coffee cools on the table. He looks out the window, not seeking anything, but feeling he still belongs to this world. And in that moment, he's not just a 90-year-old man. He's James Carter, the soldier, the survivor, the keeper of an indelible legacy. That Tuesday, like every Tuesday, James Carter leaves his small Savannah apartment. His feet move slowly. They tread the cobblestone sidewalk of Bull Street. A bitter black coffee, a slice of toast at the Sentient Bean. They're the simple joys he grants himself weekly, a small ritual to feel he still belongs to this world. In his heart, memories of fiery war days remain vivid. Yet he chooses a quiet life. He shuns attention. The street today buzzes, people rush by, footsteps and voices blend into an urban symphony. But as James nears the cafe, a flicker of unease stirs. At the entrance, 5 teenagers loiter. They block the narrow sidewalk. They wear baggy hoodies, AirPods in ears. Their loud laughter forms an invisible wall. Passers-by are forced to the street. They dodge the teens' sprawling legs, their provocative stares. James pauses. His wooden cane taps the ground. Its steady rhythm mirrors his heartbeat. He wants no trouble. Years in the Marines taught him. Conflict doesn't always need words or fists, but the narrow path leaves no choice. He takes a deep breath. He prepares to speak. His voice hoarse but calm. He intends to politely ask for passage. But before the words leave his lips, a tall teenager with garish green hair looks up. His eyes are cold, full of contempt, as if James is a meaningless obstacle. Without a word, he stretches his leg out. He blocks the path entirely. It's a deliberate, defiant act. Snickers rise from the other teens. One raises a phone. Its lens aims at James. They record the moment like cheap entertainment. In James's chest, a familiar feeling surges, not fear, but a smoldering rage, one he felt facing enemies on the battlefield. Yet he restrains it. He tries to stay composed. He steps forward. His cane taps harder. He hopes the teens will take the hint, move aside. But then, it happens too fast. The green-haired teen springs up. He towers over James by a head. With a sudden move, he shoves James's shoulder. The push is forceful, cruel. James stumbles. His aged hands can't grasp for support. His cane flies from his grip. It spins in the air. It lands on the sidewalk with a dry clack. His body tumbles into the street, right in front of an oncoming truck. The truck's horn screams. Tires screech as the driver swerves. James is spared by inches. His heart pounds, not from the near miss, but from a flood of humiliation. He lies there, on the cold pavement. His trembling hands push to rise. The teens' laughter cuts through, sharp as a blade. They clap, they point, as if watching a comedic show. One shouts something, mocking in tone, but James can't make it out. His mind reels, not from physical pain, though his hip throbs, but from the deep insult. Enemies he faced, even brutal ones, had some honor. But these teens, with their careless smirks, their empty eyes, they trample what he holds dearest, a soldier's pride. They turn away. They head into a nearby alley. Their laughter echoes. They leave James amid strangers' pitying looks. A middle-aged woman rushes over. She kneels. She retrieves his cane. She helps James sit up. She asks if he's okay, her voice full of concern, but James just shakes his head. He offers a faint smile. He thanks her, but inside, that smile masks a storm of emotion. His hands grip the cane, knuckles pale. He's not angry at his body's frailty. Age is unavoidable. But the teens' callous cruelty, their disrespect for what he and his comrades sacrificed, it cuts deeper than any battlefield wound. As the woman leaves, James stands. His gaze locks on the alley where the teens vanished. Within him, a cold resolve forms. He's not one to let things slide. Years as a Marine forged him. He faces injustice not with violence, but with grit and strategy. He knows where that alley leads. More importantly, he knows who can help him reclaim his honor. The throbbing pain in his hip flares. It reminds James of years gone by, but what wounds him deeper is the invisible scratch on his pride. The teenager's mocking laughter echoes in his mind. It cuts like a blade. They shoved him down, not out of clear malice, but from the careless arrogance of youth. James, with his silver hair, his limping gait, he doesn't let anger erupt. He takes a deep breath. He reins in the urge to turn back, to confront them. Not because he's afraid, no, James Carter has never known fear, but because he values restraint. A retired Marine, he carries pride forged in brutal days, where honor was worth more than life itself. A gentle hand touches his shoulder. The woman, her eyes full of worry, kneels to retrieve his fallen cane. Her voice is soft. She asks if he's okay, but James responds with a faint smile. That smile isn't relief. It's to ease her discomfort. He thanks her softly. His trembling hand brushes dust from his old coat. The teens are gone. Their laughter fades into the air. But in James's heart, they linger like unhealed cuts. He's not one to let things slide, not out of pettiness, but because he believes respect cannot be dismissed, especially for a man who risked his life for greater ideals. His steps are slow but resolute. They carry him toward Abercorn Street. In his mind, the Marine recruiting station, just a few blocks away. There, he knows, people still understand honor's worth. James thinks of Gunnery Sergeant Torres, Gunny Torres, as everyone calls him, a young, tough man, sharp-eyed, always showing special respect for old warriors like James. They met at a veterans event. Gunny gripped his hand firmly, said men like James inspire the next generation. That memory warms his chest. It fuels his resolve. He can't let this insult pass unnoticed. James's hand, calloused by years, trembles slightly. He pulls an old phone from his coat. His fingers, slow, dial the recruiting station's hotline. Each ring hums like a countdown. It pulls him back to tense moments on battlefields, facing challenges bigger than himself. Finally, a deep, clear voice answers. Marine Corps recruiting station, Sergeant Hayes speaking. James clears his throat, his voice calm but sharp, like a blade honed by time. This is retired Marine Gunnery Sergeant James Carter. I need to speak with Gunny Torres. It's about an assault, a disrespect to a veteran. Minutes later, Gunny Torres' voice comes through, firm yet sincere. James feels the respect in every word. It makes opening up easier. He recounts the incident, each detail vivid in his mind. He doesn't embellish, doesn't exaggerate. Just the truth, stark and precise. The teens, the shove, the mocking laughter, the insult like an old wound reopened. He stresses the disrespect, not to punish, but because he believes such actions need correcting. They're not just youthful carelessness, they're a lurking danger, not just to him, but to anyone else. Gunny listens, he doesn't interrupt. James senses empathy in each silent pause. He doesn't need to say much for Gunny to understand. It's an unspoken bond, shared by those who've worn the uniform, who know honor isn't just a word, it's a way of life. When James finishes, he feels lighter, not because his anger has faded, but because he knows he's done right. He seeks no revenge, only the restoration of respect, not just for himself, but for all he's stood for. He sets the phone down, stands still for a moment. The pain in his hip lingers, but he pays it no mind. In his heart, the flame of pride burns. It never dies. He knows, though time marches on, though his body tires, he's still James Carter, the Marine, the man who never bows to injustice. Dear audience, take a moment to relax, grab a glass of water, then keep listening to this story. Surprises lie ahead. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from, what time it is for you. It's always exciting to see someone join us from all corners of the world. Comment 1 if you find this story gripping. It'll push us to bring you more stories like this. Gunny Torres needs no more words. They ignite the fire within him. His anger doesn't erupt like a volcano. It smolders, sharp, like a blade honed by years of discipline. It's a tightly controlled emotion. Only seasoned soldiers know how to harness it, to turn it into action. He stands there, broad shoulders bearing a generation's weight. His icy gaze sweeps the room. No sigh, no complaint, just a command, short, clear, like a single cut. Assemble the team. Instantly, the air around him hums with resolve. Recruits, young men awkward in new uniforms. They scramble into line. Veteran officers, faces hardened by time. They nod silently, as if they saw this coming. 10 minutes later, a team of 8 Marines is ready. The street near Drayton, once quiet like a still life painting, it comes alive with their presence. They move, not with thundering boots, but with the precision of a perfectly tuned machine. Crisp Charlie uniforms, or simple utility gear. They hug their rugged frames. They exude authority without show. Gunny Torres leads, his powerful build like a living statue, each step a declaration. His eyes don't waver, but inside, a storm of emotion churns. He's not just angry at the teen's foolish act in the alley. He's furious at the disrespect, at the values he and his brothers bled for, now dismissed by careless laughter. But above all, he feels pity for young souls, unaware that every choice carries a consequence. They approach the alley. The teen's laughter still echoes, naive, reckless. The group, lost in their own world. They don't sense fate drawing near. 2 Marines, tall and still as pillars, they silently block the alley's exit. Their stance needs no threat. Their presence alone weighs heavy. Gunny, with the 6 others, steps into the alley's shadow. His pace is deliberate, unhurried, like a hunter certain his prey can't escape. In his heart, it's not just about discipline. It's a deeper longing. He wants these kids to understand, to feel the weight of their wrong. From afar, James sits on a park bench, hands clasped, his gaze calm but fixed on the alley. He can't hear what's happening. He doesn't need to. The sudden silence, as if someone choked the teen's laughter, it says enough. James, a man who's seen countless tense moments, knows this isn't just a lesson, it's a crossroads. The kids might change, or they'll carry the scar of their folly forever. But he doesn't interfere. He watches, quietly, like a storyteller standing outside time. In the alley, Gunny's voice rises, not loud, but sharp enough to silence any interruption. Each word lands like a hammer, striking the minds of the teens, their heads bowed. He doesn't shout. He doesn't need to. His tone is one recruits trembled at in early training, a voice that teaches not just discipline, but honor, courage, the cost of thoughtlessness. He speaks of fallen soldiers, names not carved in stone, but whose blood soaked the ground these kids stand on. He speaks of responsibility, not to him, but to themselves. Another Marine, perhaps a younger officer, adds his voice. His tone is softer, but no less firm. He explains respect's meaning, the sacrifices no history book can fully capture. He doesn't scold. He's like an older brother, trying to pull the kids from their careless mire. In the alley's dim light, the Marine's eyes never leave the teens. They stand, not as soldiers, but as teachers, wielding both toughness and compassion. Gunny Torres, though he says little more, remains the moment's center. He doesn't need to speak much. His presence, all it represents, it makes the air tremble. In his heart, anger eases. It gives way to a faint hope. Maybe, just one of these kids will get it. Maybe, someday, they'll look back on this moment. They'll be grateful. He turns, signals the team to withdraw. They leave, with perfect discipline. They leave the alley in silence. But it's not the silence of fear. It's the silence of awakening. 5 minutes pass. They stretch like a century for those in the alley. Each teenager emerges, slowly, as if every step carries the weight of a lesson seared into their minds. No more arrogant laughter, no more haughty glances. Instead, their faces are pale. Their eyes dart nervously. They flicker with panic mixed with shame. One boy, thin and frail, walks trembling. His hands clutch his jacket's edge, seeking some anchor. He nearly stumbles, but no one laughs. No one dares. Their gazes drop. They avoid any eyes around them, as if a single glance could force them to face what they've just endured. They hurry away, their steps quick. They occasionally look back, as if fearing a shadow still watches from the alley's dark. Gunny Torres steps out last, his demeanor calm but commanding. The Marines follow, their uniforms pristine, each movement sharp with discipline. Their faces are stern, yet a subtle glint in their eyes betrays quiet satisfaction, like men who've completed a mission not just for orders, but for belief. Gunny pauses. His piercing gaze sweeps the street. It lands on James. The veteran remains there, on the worn park bench, hands clasped, his face serene. His eyes miss nothing. Gunny approaches. His combat boots click steadily on the sidewalk. He stands tall, salutes James with crisp precision, a gesture steeped in respect. His voice is low, brief, unwavering. The situation is handled. Those youths were taught about honor, about respect, especially for those who sacrificed for this country. Not a word wasted, no need for more. James rises slowly, his legs no longer swift, yet they carry a soldier's steadfast grace. He returns the salute. His eyes meet Gunny's, a moment where two generations align, two hearts beat for timeless values. Pride swells in his chest, not just for what transpired, but for the unyielding spirit of men like Gunny, those who keep honor's flame alive. He nods, a simple thank you, heavy with deep gratitude. Gunny turns. He leads the Marines away. Their figures fade into the distance. They leave behind a silence charged with meaning. The neighborhood begins to buzz. Rumors spread. They sweep through every corner like a gust. People talk of the teens, once brash boys, now strangely transformed. They no longer gather loudly. They no longer speak with reckless defiance. Instead, they're seen bowing to elders, their eyes sincere, their voices soft. One morning, a few appear at Forsyth Park, hands clutching trash bags. They quietly clean fallen leaves, scattered litter. No one forces them. No one demands it. They act as if it's the only way to atone, to prove they've learned. The alley's story becomes a neighborhood legend. People recount it, not with mockery or judgment, but with reverence. They speak of Gunny Torres, the man with eyes like blades, a voice like a hammer smashing arrogance. They speak of the Marines, silent but mighty figures, embodiments of loyalty, of honor. And they speak of James, the quiet veteran on the bench, who said little, yet his presence sparked it all. Each retelling adds a new hue, but the core remains true. A lesson in respect, in the consequences of folly, in the power of values that never fade. In the teens' hearts, the alley's memory lingers, vivid, haunting. They never speak of it, but their eyes have changed. They walk more carefully, as if carrying a secret only they know. Passing the park, they glance at the bench where James sat, as if seeking silent forgiveness. But James never brings it up. He sits there, day after day, his gaze distant, calm, as if nothing happened. Only he knows, deep inside, he's content. Not because the teens changed, but because he believes, somewhere in them, the seed of honor was planted. One day, it will grow. Days later, James still walks Savannah's streets. His old shoes tap a steady rhythm. His silver hair gleams, but his eyes burn with Marine spirit, despite time's deep wrinkles on his face. The alley incident changed him. No longer feeling like an invisible old man, he realizes he's still part of that proud community. Each time he passes the recruiting station on Abercorn, young Marines salute him formally. They offer a knowing nod. The gesture warms his heart, as if his fighting years live again. The black coffee at the Sentient Bean tastes better now. James talks more. He shares war stories with those around him. His voice, warm, full of feeling, it leaves listeners in awe. The story of the alley intervention spreads, not just in Savannah but across social media. It inspires respect. It inspires camaraderie. The once reckless teens, they've changed. One boy, his green hair striking, comes to the cafe. His voice trembles. He apologizes to James. His eyes shine with genuine remorse. James just nods. He smiles kindly, like a father offering guidance. The Marine spirit in James never fades. Though age slows his steps, his pride, his sense of honor, they remain untouched. The alley incident proves it. When a Marine is wronged, the response is swift, decisive. It leaves a lasting mark. That story becomes a lesson, not just for the teens, but for all who hear it. It reminds us, honoring those who sacrificed is a sacred duty, one worth preserving. James, with a quiet smile, keeps walking, carrying the belief that this spirit will live on. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to let me know in the comments where you're watching from, what time it is for you. It's always exciting to see someone join us from all corners of the world. Comment 1 if you found this story compelling. It'll inspire us to bring you more stories like this.